What? Yeah. Live to video. Direct to video. That's nice. That looks good. All right. Hey, welcome back. Hey, so we're gonna jump into the build now, and I believe Chad is making his way up here. We're going to talk about a lot of the technological leaps that have happened.
Bam. So one of the first
since
things
then.
Yeah. So a good transition from what we were talking about before, seeing the stuff in Maya, is that after we do that process of turning those blocks into the base items, and the level artists can go in and do anything they want to with it and change objects, make some unique ones, and really kind of break it up so it doesn't feel like everything is stamped or blocked. And that's one of the things I think we really wanted to do on the art side, is to make the levels feel handcrafted, because they are. And that's why we kept saying that it's like the base is that turning it into the objects, and then we can spend as much time as we want to on each map to make it look great. And as you see here, all this stuff is like a lot of custom geometry work.
Yep, and a lot of these are like, I mean, it looks very custom on the pants around here, like all these roots and stuff, but there's really, you know, there aren't that many root pieces that they're using, scaling slightly, rotating, and putting under here. And then there's some kind of like connective tissue right here.
Gross.
That's really gross. That is really gross. To sort of cover up the fact that you're on a flat plane. So yeah, I guess this is a little bit weird that we're showing people all of the like tricks and smoke and mirrors and stuff that we normally do, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah, you guys are along for the ride, and video games.
We've also like a couple of things have happened, I think, since we last showed this to you. Panya has done these really cool ripples and rings around the roots. This is all like procedural, and I think it really helps kind of like ground the roots. The water has been iterated on a little bit more, like the mesh has a consistent density, and it just looks awesome. And then the whole color palette has been pushed more in a green direction, and I think it looks a lot better, more cohesive and stuff. But yeah, so hey Chad.
Hey Brad.
Hey, welcome Chad Dawson.
How's the beer? I see you guys
It's good. We left you some. I don't think
you can drink it right out of the bottle, like
you can just go for it.
Just like a boss.
That's the best
So hey, the biggest thing that's happened this week, and it actually just happened this morning, is that we have AI in the game, which is super rad. So
we have that Spielberg movie in the game?
Yes, we have artificial intelligence. It's Haley Joel Osment.
They were asking about the new UI stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is all stuff that you did based off of Derek's. You made these icons though, huh?
No, those were in Derek's art.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah.
Amazing. I didn't see those in the thing. They're
Well, this is really good.
terrible. Yeah, isn't it good?
Yeah, it's not too.
That's a massive wee that you're drinking right now.
Heyo.
So that line's new, that path line. That was.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing to show off. Yeah, when I've got this character, you can see it. It's a little bit thin. I'm gonna zoom in on it, just because it is a debug line. Like we will do real visualization on this. But this just shows you like what path your character will take.
Like that one where you can cut through your two friendlies.
Yeah, and that's another thing like that we added is that when John was writing up the rules for pathing around, like one of the things we wanted was to have enemies and blockers be some things that you could not diagonally move between, but then friendlies you should be able to move diagonally between them. So it was a bit of a tricky thing, but it's all set.
And it lets your characters slide past each other easier. It makes enemies feel like obstacles, and also lets you block off space better. So it's kind of like one of the things we were looking at when we were first planning out this game is if we do diagonal movement and attacking, then you have to kind of account for that in a lot of different ways. How do you make sure that enemies are actually a threat when you're moving around? So, and how do we prevent the whole feeling of your guys getting clustered up and not being able to move by each other?
Did you crash?
I think it crashed.
This is real-time development.
It totally crashed. Huge
and
So Brad,
work in progress.
User Shumoon Fu asks, is the UI color going to change with the different house colors?
That's something that we're debating. Like as we continue to develop the UI, like you'll definitely see the house sigil and the house colors and stuff in there. We were discussing like all of the ability icons taking the house color as well. But you know, we're still really early on with the UI, so we need to figure that out.
Yeah, all of this is just kind of placeholder. It's just trying out some different ideas and just getting the functionality.
It's damn good programmer art.
We
can talk about the left click, right click kind of thing.
Yeah,
we can. Something we've been.
We can totally talk about with the sigils though, the house colors. One thing that's dangerous about it is that if we allow colors like red and green, like those actually mean something from a UI perspective, right?
Yeah.
If you select the guy that's
Christmas.
from a
Christmas.
right, it means Christmas. It means Christmas. But if you select the guy that's red, house color red, and then all of his icons are red, well, does that mean that you can't use those abilities? Because like they're red, and like that's what you're used to. Yeah.
Right.
And similarly, like you select the guy that's green, and now all his abilities are green. There are some that you can't use right now, but they're green, and then you're like confused because you're like shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a cool idea, but I think that it has a lot of problems, and so we'll probably not do that. But it's certainly cool. It also depends on what are the house colors that we select.
Right.
If we stay away from like bright red and bright green, maybe it's possible. I don't know. It's something we'll keep the door open on that one. But let's try this again.
There's some graphics crash somewhere walking from here to there. I don't know what it is yet.
Have you seen it happen every time?
Not every time, but it's sometimes.
So there a NPC popped in out of the fog.
Spooky.
See some decay melee demons. So we've got two bad guys in the game right now. The decay melee demon, and he's going to placeholder. The time mage is in as a ranged attacker.
Well, they're about to taste the wrath of our nudist hero group.
They're looking kind of nude.
They are looking pretty nude, aren't
This
they?
is something that's interesting that happens. As graphical fidelity in one part of the game increases, the things that haven't gotten touched yet stick out like a sore thumb. And, not everything needs to take its time.
Oh, here he comes.
Dum, 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 he can't hit you. No, but he's able to get close.
So Chad, what's going on right now? Like, what's going on in the mind of the AI?
So it's...
And also, there's this chug that just happened there. What's going on there?
Thanks.
Is that great that I pointed that out for everybody?
So on the AI turn, he first goes through all his characters and figures out which one should move next. And right now he just kind of goes in order. It picks ones that you can see and tries to move them first, so that's why you're seeing the chug at the end. The chug at the end isn't kind of calculating the moves for everyone you can't see. So once it picks the guy that it thinks it should move, it then tries to decide which of his skills he should use. And we haven't really fleshed out many of the skills yet. You see at the bottom of the screen for your character there's 4 skills. Right now the demons have the same skills you do. But those are just kind of made up ones. Really what he's going to do is he's going to move or he's going to attack. So if he can see you, he'll try to move to you and attack.
Ooh.
If he can't see you, he'll just kind of wander around. That's what we have in there now.
I just missed like
6 times in a row.
I did. Yeah, I think I just
60.
had. Is that right? I had 6 misses.
That's a lot.
Ooh.
No, you hit with one of the hunter attacks, so you missed 5 times in a row. Which that happens. We don't have any streak protection in right now, and we'll play with how that feels.
Boom, that was a hit.
All right. Scaber jacks are getting it done. Can also use this. Is this new since we last showed it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that you can. So you'll have one of these spiky red spikes for each enemy that you can see, and that will center the camera on it as well. And then if you just left click it, that is the same as left clicking the target. Or you can actually right click it, and that will just be a shortcut for shooting it as well.
We don't have visible projectiles yet, so that's happening under the hood right now. But
yeah, that will come in very, very shortly.
Brad doesn't even need him. He's lighting these guys up.
Not really. I had so many misses there.
I'm throwing you a bone here.
I have not lost the character yet, but this Caber Jack only has 2 HP, and this Hunter only has 1 HP.
And we don't have any healing.
And we have no healing or anything.
Yet, so.
And this is really like we're gonna try to do our damnedest to make the game fun with only the basic melee and range attacks. And if we can get it even in the ballpark of fun with only basic attacks for both the enemies and the heroes, then I feel like we're in a really good space, because I mean, all that really means is the game's going to get better as we add like special abilities and more weapons and more classes and hybrid classes, and then all the other enemies, and then all the special things the enemies can do, and then we map that to all the strategic layer things like the tech tree and the unlocks and like you name it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. Glancing blow. So right there, like this caberjack has 67% chance to hit. So right now, how are we calculating that?
John?
Just
well, right now it's kind of all baked into the character. There's a defense value on the NPC, kind of representing their armor, and then a accuracy value on the hero, representing their like skill with their weapon, and that will change based on how they level up and on age. And then also I'm playing with like flanking rules and facing rules and stuff, and that's kind of, we're still trying to figure out exactly where our like minute or second to second decision making process will come from. Well, why would you want to attack this guy in a certain way rather than just target selection? But because now we have this up and running, we can test those. I already have, like on my build on my desk, you can shoot some guy in the back and have a better % chance to hit him if you're a caberjack and stuff. So that's cool. So that's the kind of thing we'll be playing with over the next few weeks, and that'll help us really make this fun. I mean, that's the idea.
So I got a couple questions.
And it'll change on range. Your accuracy will go down the further away you are. That's not in right now either. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
So Chad, Massive King asks, do you plan on putting tactics for groups of enemies in, or will they always be thinking individually? And if regardless, another question is, how do you even do group tactics AI? How would you approach that?
Well, currently we're doing most of our AI in Lua, actually, which is a bit of a change. We have something that's sort of the AI player, and he's kind of making the group decisions right now. And right now his main decision is like, who should I move next? But eventually we'll probably beef him up with a little bit more intelligence on looking at all the characters and figuring like, I don't want to have this guy, say the demon's got healing. I don't want to move this guy because I want to wait till after this guy maybe gets hit or takes damage, and we'll kind of coordinate between the different characters. But we kind of do two different layers. One is sort of the manager of the whole team, the demon team, and the other will be kind of the individual characters doing their AI. And they'll probably influence each other back and forth, but initially they'll probably be acting pretty independently. As each one decides to take a turn, he'll pick his best move for that turn. But we're currently splitting it up by action points, so the demons get 2 action points like you do right now. So they may use one, and then another demon may do an attack, then they may use their other one. So that adds sort of an interesting kind of way that you might see one helping another one like that. But it's all something we have to explore. Like Brad was saying, we really kind of want to get the basics down first, or just the basic, demon behaviors are interesting and fun enough, and then we'll start adding more kind of coordinated attacks. Things like memory, like if they see you and you run away, they kind of remember where you are and set up an ambush there, maybe if you come back, those kind of cool things. Identifying spots on the map that are good spots to move. Right now, it's actually interesting playing because cover is not a huge mechanic of our game, but there is some advantage to hiding behind a tree or a rock or something like that where they can't see you. So maybe the AI should learn to go to those locations when it decides to retreat. Possibly that would be looking at the health of all of its characters and how many enemies it can see and switch the guys into retreat mode. So all that stuff's kind of stuff we're going to layer on probably as the weeks go by. But our goal at this phase is just kind of get it up and running so Brad and Jeff can get in and start feeling like if the basic gameplay is fun and start changing the numbers. Already today, Brad and John have made 5 or 6 little changes that are kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. John did a total balance pass on this thing, and it became a lot more fun.
Yeah. Making certain things stronger, guys hit more, and even trying out his ideas like flanking or hitting from behind. It's great for me to see them get to that point because it's really where we start to find the balance of the game. And I think now until we ship, it's going to be a constant tweaking those numbers and getting it to feel right, getting as much play testing as we can on it.
Yep.
Chad, also there's a and maybe this is best for later, but there's a lot of guys on the chat channel right now that are students, and their AI is obviously, you know, it sounds cool. It's always like everyone thinks that's the core of games, you know. How long have you been doing this, and how long would it take, or what would someone need to do to really start to get into it? Maybe not, you know, to the awesome C. Dawson level of near human intelligence AI, but just getting into it. You know, where can they start?
It's nice. I've actually done quite a bit of AI. When I graduated college in the early 90s, I started going in and I did AI neural network development and started on different degrees for doing AI. So I've been doing AI for probably 20 years now or whatever. When I first came to work on Brutal Legend, it was because I'd been doing AI on some other real-time strategy games. But since I've been here, the last few games we've done haven't been very AI focused, so it's nice to get back into doing AI. As far as for somebody learning it,
Nice.
a lot of AI programs in schools are kind of based in the computer science department, but there's also logic statistics department, as well as psychology that factors into AI a lot.
And what you specialize in is when our neural network robot overlords come, you'll know how to basically interface with them. So, all right. Cool,
Also,
man.
I don't know if anyone's paying attention, but I'm basically the best Massive Chalice player.
I know.
At least in North America is what I'm saying. I'm
I'll
going
give
to
you
go
North
out on a limb
America.
and just say that at least #1 NA.
I heard there's some guys east of the Mississippi that are pretty good, though. So
There's some online game communities that are set up for AI. There's a site I think called AI Game Dev.
yeah, that's a
which I
great
was
site.
gonna point people out to look at.
I'll
It
put that in
probably
the
has some
chat.
beginner stuff, but maybe I'll do a little write-up for our blog or for the forums.
That would be
on there,
awesome.
Something like that.
You heard it here.
Look and
Chad
see
is
this guy.
I don't know.
This is another great thing is that we can now kind of like test out, test the map, test the sight lines,
How would we debug this?
Can
make
show
sure
some of
that
the-
things
show some of the
things
debug
make
modes.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chad has basically all of the debug for the tile grid set up to F2. So this is just so that you can see the actual grid. What is this next one?
It's the grid coordinates.
Yeah.
in
Grid
X.
coordinates.
X,
Cool.
and Z.
Cool. So that's just the sweet. What is this?
That's the cell index. So sometimes you use XZ, sometimes you just use a number, and it's like the width times the the grid width plus the height.
Oh, clever, clever girl. You got it.
Some things use that. This, I don't know.
It was a Jurassic Park reference. Thank you, Anthony.
Oh, this is the 3D coordinates of it.
the 3D coordinates of it?
So we have sort of our 2D representation of the grid, but then depending on how Jeff and them build the world, that grid may be offset. So sometimes if you're looking in the underlying code of animation and physics, that's using like the 3D world position. So this is the 3D position kind of rounded off to the nearest integer. It's more useful for me if I know like there's some guy's falling through the world or something.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
coordinate
yeah.
is, I can figure out where it is. Or sometimes when you're in the Brutal Engine code, you're going to be dealing with those coordinates and it doesn't know anything about the grid.
Sweet.
This is the pathing cost to get there.
Ah, I
To the
see.
tiles,
And
I
this is
think.
why
Yeah.
they're not all whole numbers because of diagonal movement.
It
and the
depends
way
on
that
who
it's
you have
handled.
selected, right? So a diagonal is like 1.5.
And you can already start to see actually if you kind of look in here,
Yeah.
is that you could move over here, and so that means this object is not correct. Like that should be a low blocker, and
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
doing its job.
Hit F2 and you'll get to that.
What is this one? So
one's a little
this is
different.
some green numbers on a green texture. I don't know if
This
people
one.
can see those at home, but there's like there. That's a little bit better.
That's the number of action points to get to that tile, I think. It's maybe
Okay.
maybe,
plus-
yeah.
plus 1 or something. Maybe it's off
Yeah.
by 1. I don't know.
No,
All right.
That makes sense.
I add these as I'm debugging things, and sometimes I don't use them anymore. So this one was an earlier one. It actually draws inset squares based on the cost. So as you see that little outline we do that's green or yellow, we didn't used to have that. That's sort of a new shader I wrote. So before you used to just have this green and yellow bands to kind of show you what would cost you 2 points versus 1.
Sweet.
This is similar to one we saw before.
This is another similar like movement one, action point guy.
This is the one you were talking
yeah,
about.
this
right?
is it. Okay, sweet.
So you can see that the yellow spheres are ones you could see over, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, those should be orange.
Yep, those are low, and you can see that here where these really felt like they were those medium blockers that were blocking height. So if we want them to be low blockers, they need to be a lot lower. Or if if they're supposed to be medium blockers, they should be a little bit higher, and then change. You can see that they're set as low blockers. So that's why I can see the dude.
Right. The idea with the ones that are yellow is that you could maybe shoot your bow over it.
And you can see there's one next to you as well that's yellow, like that one right in front of you, down
Yep.
there to the right.
Yep, and you can see that's like basically,
Yeah.
you wouldn't really expect your character to see or shoot over these things. So some of these, at least these rocks right here, right? At least
Yep.
this one. And then you can see this one as well that feels a little bit weird. It's orange, that means it's a medium blocker. But if I put a guy right next to this, it's gonna look like they should be able to see and shoot over it. So it's very cool. I feel like a lot of these things, you don't actually start getting a feel for them until you can actually play the game. And I feel like, it's really exciting that you can actually play the game now. Like, the game is playable. Like, we are playing the game. And then all of these other things start falling out because of it, which is,
Right, exactly.
kind of annoying, but it's pretty exciting. What is this awesome group of numbers?
This
Is
one
this the
shows
visibility?
Yeah.
No, it's on every tile, the index of the character that can see it. So that means like
So-
character 2, 4, and 5 can see that tile.
Cool.
It kind of breaks it down. So sometimes you'll be playing and you'll be like, why can't my character see this? And you think he should be able to, or you don't realize that you have another character that can kind of see through a crack and see it or something. So
Yep.
it kind of helps us figure out, for problem cases, where that is. That's it.
Oh, and that's the last one. Okay.
Yeah. The only other one is see what the AI can see when the debug.
Oh yeah. Let's
Toggle
show that.
the
That's
file,
really
yeah.
excellent. So
This is actually helpful for me today.
from the debug screen, is it under
It's
cheats
under
or
AI,
pathing?
AI and
Okay.
pathing, yeah.
It's a lot of debug stuff. Cycle Fog of War team. So this is actually going to take the map and change the Fog of War completely so that it's from the AI's perspective. So you can see like my team and kind of where I've killed all the guys, it's totally fogged out. But then, where all the enemies are, you're just seeing, it's kind of the aggregate of the entire enemy team, right?
Right.
And this is useful for debugging stuff. It's also really good for cheating, if you want to cheat.
But what's
Rad.
neat about it is currently our AI is using the same rules the player is. So it can't see you on the map if you're not visible to it. So it doesn't just know where you are and start heading for you even before you found it. And when it fires, it can't shoot through a tree and that kind of stuff too. So it's actually kind of nice designing AI to have it follow the same rules, because you can write one system that makes the player do something, and then if you've written it right, the AI can use that same system. And that's a lot of why we were able to get this up relatively quick, was because the AI plumbs right into the same functions that the player does.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can also see this, it helps you find problems like this where it feels like this tile should really be open.
Right.
So if that's a blocker, and it probably is, I'm sure that if I cycle over to this,
Yep.
it's like there's a medium blocker there, and it's like that, that's not a medium blocker. That's
Right.
that, So it just helps us find bugs, just playing the game like that.
Hey, Brad, to Chad's
Yes.
point about, it's great that the AI is using the same rules as our heroes, so that, you can make those rules apply to both more easily. User Krios asks, could we foresee in the future maybe our enemies, perhaps for example, could see farther or higher, or their Fog of War rules could be different than ours? What are you guys thinking about that from the design standpoint?
Well, each character is tunable differently. So right now, the enemies do have a couple more squares of vision than you do. So we can definitely tune them differently, but the way that they see is the same. And that could be modified. If we wanted to have an enemy potentially that could see over something, we'd have to add that into the system. But
For instance, the stats, like you said, characters have, max hit points and sight and strength and
even bravery.
even bravery. Yeah, they use the sight parameter just the same as the players do. So that's nice if they had some buff that like reduced somebody's sight. That could be used on a player, that could be used on an enemy, and both of it would change how their Fog of War is represented. It's kind of nice. Hopefully it'll make us, if we come up with a cool skill on a demon that we think a character should get, or vice versa, we can just transfer it over and they'll start using that one. It'll be the same rules. For testing, we've even tested putting the enemies on your team and your guys on the enemy's team to kind of see if they still react. It helps us kind of figure out the skills, but it's...
Chad, I have a question for you. When I was doing kind of game programming before I came here, I remember working with designers. I remember one kind of thing that we'd always try and establish for each of our games was a toolbox of functions, like that was game specific. That was, it lived on top of the engine. That was just like over time,
right.
As the designers ran into walls or problems, we would say, hey, we're going to add this to the toolbox. Here's some rules for calling this function or whatever it might be. What's your process like that with? And John, you can speak to this too. What's that process like between you guys? Like right now, because you guys are so early on. I feel like you're in a similar boat right now. It's kind of cool.
It's not the best currently.
Yeah, we're still kind of figuring out what the process that would be.
We have a lot of functions. It's funny because we built this engine from seed. Kind of our code base that's a conglomeration of work from all our different projects.
Engine, right?
So there's a function there like to see if it's on Daviculus's team. You can ask the game that. That's for Brutal, and it's like, we don't really need that function anymore. There's a function to see if an entity is a vehicle, because in Brutal Legend you could drive cars around. Like, there's a bunch of kind of useless functions in there, as well as functions that have kind of been made on 2 projects that do the same thing.
And then also the interplay between the C code and the Lua script. There's some stuff that's pretty easy to access via C code, and some stuff that's easy to access versus Lua script, and figuring out how and when to bounce back and forth between those. But like our game entities are, the thing that's been awesome for me is that the base game entity of the characters and all of their data can be accessed in Lua. So you can do things like get their rotation or orientation, what cell they're in, have them play animations and all that stuff. And that's really cool. But as we go through and make prototypes of different skills and things, we're going to run into functions that will be helpful to put in our toolbox. We'll put it into a utility file and elsewhere. Oh.
Yeah, that's something we want to do. Brad and John will probably be likely doing some scripting, as well as potentially a new gameplay programmer or 2 that come on our team, and kind of knowing how to get access to all this data they need. Like John was saying, a lot of our stuff now is more built in Lua, so it's easier to look there. You don't have to dig through the C++ code and try to find accessor attributes and custom Lua functions to get in. So a lot of stuff you can kind of figure out just looking through the other Lua files. But certain functions like determining if a guy is still walking or not, that's still down in the code layer that handles our locomotion, and exposing that to Lua is something we want to do, and maybe even documenting it. We sort of have a system that does auto documentation that we've used on other projects, which like scans the C code and pulls all the functions and makes a web page that's sort of easy to go to. But
Doxygen, right?
Doxygen, yeah. But we might want to get that going on this project.
A lot of guys in the chat are asking if, for example, Naboxo asks, all this stuff is done in Lua. Could it be easy for the community to mod, perhaps?
I don't think we've made any decisions on that, but.
No,
initially, that's not our main focus. It's just getting a good game going. But I wouldn't totally rule it out for the future.
I mean, it's something like because we're going more in Lua, we don't have to release our source code for the actual engine itself. It can just be the actual like Lua code, and we're doing so many things just in straight Lua that it would be pretty powerful to just give people the Lua that we're working with.
User Wolfery asks, has there been any unexpected AI behavior seen so far that's kind of been like, huh? And I can think of a handful of small things that Brad and I saw at his desk that was kind of cool.
Right. Let's see. The first time when I wrote it, I didn't subtract the action points when the AI didn't attack. So he would just come at you and just hit you repeatedly and was killing me. He was doing it really fast. And I couldn't figure out...
You made him too effective, Chad.
I couldn't figure out how he was doing it. Basically, he was getting infinite moves, which was kind of funny.
Ultra kill.
We've seen a few bugs, mostly. Certain things like we saw on the map, where you'll see the AI walk through a rock, but it's really just because we have to do some work on the map to make sure that's a blocker, that stuff comes up.
Here's the armory, by the way.
To that point, can you guys think of, Sir Slade asked, what's the funniest bug we've seen so far? I can't think off the top of my head of anything, but...
That one Brad put up on the blog, the guy spinning his
Oh yeah,
that was...
yeah, you should check that out. I put it up on our Tumblr, and it's like, there's a weird bug because of, oh no!
Survivor.
Okay. Could this be the last group? It's probably
just
not.
got
It's
into
probably
I think
some
there's
in the
one
forest,
in the
right?
forest.
Yeah, I don't know if this is happening.
You could talk a little bit about this indoor section.
Oh yeah. So this is, we chose this map. I think we talked about it on the last team stream about how this is our worst case, because this is like, it has water, it has a keep. It's one of the more complex environments that we're shooting for, but so the keep, the one thing that we've done, and we're still trying to figure out exactly how we're going to alpha this out, but having the keep walls be infinitely tall, but then only have the top of them alpha out. We're probably going to set it up. You can that's a really nice shot of it there, where you can see the top pieces are alphaing out and the bottom pieces are remaining static. We're probably going to just pull them off completely when you get your mouse behind there, or just hide them completely. Or, I mean, some of it is just like straight sorting issues that we'll get. But just trying to figure out like what the best way to do that is. And then also when your camera's on the inside, maybe it doesn't have to alpha out like in a situation like this. So there's some of that stuff that we have to figure out. But yeah, we're with the actual keep, we want it to be kind of small. Like, we're definitely calling them keeps and not castles on purpose, because we don't want them to be these like huge multi-level things that you're exploring forever. Like, they should be these smaller things that are integrated into the level. And Jeff took it with so Jeff has a lot of knowledge from like Ren Fair and stuff. Like, he's just got a lot of knowledge about like medieval Europe and shit. So he took sort of the layout that we were looking at, and
his
made
knowledge, I don't think it came from Ren Fair. But he does have it.
It's related. It's related.
It's related.
To Ren Fair.
He can use it at Ren Fair.
Yeah.
Like, it probably makes him a very popular guy at Ren Fair.
This is an interesting bug, Chad. I think this is because it's using my old position. Can I actually run all the way over there? Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, check this out.
So the last guy standing.
Anyway, yeah, it's just, we're iterating on this keep map, trying to figure out like exactly what kind of furniture and like furnishings we need inside of them.
Yep.
To really make it
scroll
feel.
back down.
Yes.
Only because there's surprisingly quite a few people asking about the fire and smoke effect. Is that new?
This was actually I don't know if you remember back when we first were iterating with effects. Like, Panya came on the project and he was just kind of like doing some look dev on effects. This is that same fire effect that he just like modified. So yeah, the diamond fire and the hexagonal smoke. It's the same thing, and it looks really rad. And then they just dropped a point light in there, and it's like, yeah, it's cool.
And so there is dynamic lighting with that fire as well, right? Smiles asks that.
Yes.
The little point light's nice.
Yep. And yeah, so like, we turned this into the throne room, so this would be for the regent and the partner. They would, this is sort of like their little throne room area, and we're thinking about that for when you start these keep defense missions. Either it would be all 7 of your characters that start in this throne room and then have to defend the keep from a bunch of people that are a bunch of enemies that are coming in, or a variation of it where only the regent and the partner start inside the throne room, and then the squad of 5 heroes that you send in starts outside, and then you'd have to like link them up, and we'll mess around with both of those. We might end up with doing both of them in the final game, or maybe just one is a lot more fun and it's always set to that. Like,
it'll be easy to test it. So.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things for that. So we'll see.
And Brad, Randolph and Solar Blitz respectively ask, this mission, it seems like it's got a pretty good length to it. Is this representative of the normal mission length? And then also, Solar Blitz asks, is this map size the sort of average combat size we'll see in game?
So, hey, there it is.
Yeah.
This is the awesome pathing disco that we have.
It's Keep Madness
going on. Yeah. Let's see if I can get out of it. I think that it'll let me get out of it.
So,
no, maybe. Okay.
The way that Jeff showed you earlier, that how we're going to build maps supports arbitrary map sizes. So we're definitely going to play with different sizes and shapes of maps. This was kind of what I'd think of as a medium, and we'll see. It's we first spec'd it out. It was actually too small, and then we kind of opened it up a little bit too big. And this all happened before we arted everything up, which was great. And so then we kind of filled in the big one, cut off some of the corners, made some of the hallways tighter, yeah. So I think this is pretty representative of map size. Our characters may walk further distance. Yeah, we'll know. It's still easy to change numbers. We're gonna be playing with all that stuff, and this is kind of gonna be the battlegrounds. I think you're gonna see a lot of this map in the near future.
I think so too.
Because we're gonna use this to prove out a lot of things. We already have.
As for length, like I want to shoot for about like 15 to 20 minutes. One of the biggest things that I've seen is that being a turn-based game, length of mission is really determined by speed of the player. You can really take your time and like just thoughtfully think about each and everything, or you can just do the like YOLO XCOM that I enjoy, where you're just like, you're just sprinting your guys and you're like throwing grenades and you're just whatever. So, like for like the new XCOM, like yeah, your mission time might be 15 minutes for one person, 45 for another, just because they're spending so much time.
Yours averages about 3.5 minutes.
Mine 2.5 is like
guns blazing.
Not without its risks though. But yeah, that's like I'd like to shoot for like 20-minute on average, maybe a little bit shorter, for like the faster players, and then like the longer players, it'll just take a little bit longer. But yeah, we don't want them to be too long. I think that this one, like, we have a lot of enemies that are on the map. I think it's probably too many for your average mission in the game. But like, I mean, it's nice to have it. I was talking to John about this, and he brought up the fact that like it's really nice to have like a pretty dense spawn, so that you could easily test you could test every area of the map for combat as you go through it, rather than like having to sort of do some of the hunting that you would have to do during a normal mission. Just for like our initial combat tests and stuff, we can sort of get an idea of how every section of the map feels for combat. So
right
yeah,
on.
and I think that I'm gonna die now because
Depends if
we're gonna need a lot of misses here.
Yeah, dice gods are not with you. Oh, dead.
And there you go.
I got killed back to the strategy layer.
I think that calls it. I've rarely seen a better end to a team stream.
That's it, man. Shut it down. It sucks. It's a depressing game. You're just gonna have to deal with it. No, are there any other questions?
Honestly, we were catching a lot of them. Solar Blitz had another one I thought was pretty cool. You guys have been talking a lot about movement lately. I know last sprint we did a lot of the movement rules. Chad got a lot of that implemented now, especially for the AI. But do we see movement skills that allow you to exploit various pieces of the map's environments? So it's like castle walls versus stone versus marsh versus mud versus I know we've talked about that. Maybe you can share that with some of the guys.
Still exploring those ideas. We'll have to test some of them. I mean, slowing tiles and damaging tiles are things that are on the list, and then maybe not abilities but traits that might help you get by those, or demon armor might not be affected by corrosion because the demons aren't affected by corrosion. So I don't think we're going to have anything like scaling over a wall necessarily. That is probably going to be too resource intensive, but we can play with it. Also have some teleportation stuff on the line, because we have like the swapper enemy that's going to be the big brute that can swap with people. So you're going to be able to do that. Yeah, so we'll see. It's pretty open at this point.
Cool. DF Dan is in the chat.
Hey, Dan.
He said that user Last Baron had a great question about music, but I can't find it in the history. So, can you talk for a second about some of our thoughts on music for Massive Chalice in general?
Yeah. We're I've been talking with Brian a lot about music actually. So he's been kind of like curating this list of composer friends of the studio, and I wrote up some notes about like high-level music direction, and we're gonna be sending out kind of like an open audition to a closed number of people. So it's actually not an open audition; it's actually a closed audition.
Is that why you haven't responded to my audition? Really?
Yeah, I liked.
What's that all about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like reggae. I didn't. I just wasn't sure.
Everyone
if
loves
that would
reggae.
be really,
It's a piece, and it meets. Well, reggae meets guar, and you didn't even
Kind
consider
of fits
it.
the mangrove forest a little bit.
It does. But really, like, yeah. So we're gonna send that out to them. We're gonna do some like blind listens of the sketches, is what like a composer will call those, where they just sort of sketch out an idea for like, oh, it could be like this. We're gonna be asking for like a human piece and then a demon piece, either a twist on that piece or something totally different. Really though, like the direction-wise, I want it to be like not, we're avoiding fantasy tropes like all over the place. So I think if we had like your soaring Lord of the Rings style orchestra over the top of it, I think it would just feel really weird. It would feel out of place. It would just be like, that's, everything else is like not what I expect from a fantasy thing. This is weird to be having music that feels just like every other orcs and elves fantasy thing. So so trying to use more like different ethnic instruments that are a little bit more exotic, like a lot of the Mongolian stuff we were looking at, I think is we've gotten away from it a little bit, but it's still a little bit present, like in our character design, our armor design. So that could be interesting. But the biggest thing I'm interested in is like for the actual demon side, for the demon music, doing it in either. And the demons are all about time, so like having the music switch into an odd time signature, or layering time signatures on top of each other, so that you just have it. It's usually unsettling when people compose that way, where you have like one instrument that is in 4/4 and then another one that's in 3/4, and so they're out of phase most of the time. But then every 4 measures they'll line up, because you'll have like
They finally overlap at that point.
Yeah, and I probably did that wrong. I think it's actually, I did that wrong. It's actually like 4 measures of 3/4 is like 12 beats, and then 3 measures of 4/4 is 12 beats, so that's when they'll line up. And so that has like a real creepy, weird vibe to it. So it's like if the human music is in 4/4, and then the demon music is in 5/4 or 7/4 or whatever, something odd, I think that it would give you this sort of weird, unsettling shift when it goes into the demon music and comes back. And then on the strategy layer, so that would be more for tactics, where it's like it's about these two sides fighting. So it's like one side has music of one style and the other side has music of other style. So when you relinquish control of your turn over to the enemies, it like switches over to theirs and then it comes back to yours, and it really feels like they're at odds. But then at the on the strategy level, just really trying to emphasize the fact that it's like, I don't know, like I think that's where the music can be a little bit more sentimental, because that's when a lot of your heroes are going to be dying of old age, and like there's like ups and downs on the strategy layer that I think can be emphasized really well with music. So having like heroes are born, and that's like really great, and the music kind of swells up, and then it's like heroes dies of old age, and it's like, well, it's sort of
DFDM
sadness.
was asking in the thread if maybe we can get some of your saxophone 80s.
Oh yes, I will be playing. I will be playing on one track at least. No, I won't. I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
And by the way, the last Baron's questions did finally come in, and you covered it a little bit, but he specifically was asking if we thought about having each queue have separate stems that switched for each class, or depending on the game state. And so you kind of mentioned that is up for.
That's super cool. That's
discussion.
a super cool thing thinking about, so that each class could have its own instrumentation. At least the core classes could have their own instrumentation, so that when you switch between them, it's just turning on and off different sets, and that can be really rad. It is. I mean, all the dynamic music stuff, most of it is custom. It's like Fmod supports a lot of it, but a lot of it is just like custom programming to set it up and make it work, and then all the logic for like, okay, you switch to this character, he's this class, turn this on. It's like there's just a lot of that stuff. So we'll just have to weigh like how much programming time we can dedicate to it, because you can noodle on that stuff a lot. Like it is kind of like a black hole of programming, but bang for buck on music is really high. Like it's really high. So we'll see. It's something that we're gonna get the ball rolling probably next month. Get the sketches back in early January, and then we'll make our decisions with like who we're gonna work with, and we'll sign a contract with them, and then hopefully we'll have stuff.
Free, so it's going to be perfect. I'm not going to sweat it, I'm kidding.
And we'll see. I think that we're gonna. I don't know. Like I'd like to just share all the stuff, but I don't know. We'll see what they sound like.
Right
you
on.
know, we'll see how they sound before I don't want to commit and say, oh yeah, everything that we get, all these sketches, we'll share them with you, and attach composers' names to them so you can judge them and stuff. Like I don't know, it feels a little bit weird.
Well, I know you won't be sharing my reggae polka submission, so whatever.
But we'll see. I'll talk to Brian about like exactly how that works. Like with, you know, I don't even know like legally. I'm pretty sure that they still own any of those sketches, so I don't even know if we'd be able to share them if we wanted to. So we'll see though. We'll see down the road, like when we get them back. I think, yeah, but I think it would be probably sometime early January where we like actually have those and we start listening to them and everything.
Awesome.
And that's another one of those great moments in game development when you get the first theme song or
cool.
even just a looping song in the background of your game. You're like, okay. And for me, it's a great motivator because I tend to listen to music that inspires me for that game. So I was listening to like the Indiana Jones soundtrack all the time, working on Uncharted, and with this, I'm like, I am kicking up a lot of orchestral film scores, but I'm looking forward to like branching out and getting some other stuff.
Yeah,
there's fun,
and I'm stoked for like weird instrumentation and stuff. I played saxophone and bass clarinet and contrabass clarinet. Have you ever seen this thing?
Is that the one that's like the spread gun?
It's
is that the bad boy of clarinets? Or?
It's I guess you have to sit on a stool
you
to
have
play
to
it.
wear
It's like
a headband, and your shirt has to be off. You're like ripped. You're like.
It's about I think it's over 6 feet tall.
What?
And it has a peg. It's on a peg,
Wow.
and you have to sit on a stool to play it. The reed's about this wide and about that long, and it's like, oh man! And it's playing the low notes on one of those things. It's like you can almost feel your like teeth shake when you play it. You know, it's like so deep.
So are
awesome.
you one of those guys whose lungs are so powerful you can like fill like one of those hot water bags? You're just like, just from playing that.
That
thing?
would be awesome, but no, I don't think so.
Well,
it's pretty gross.
but, there goes my fan fiction, I guess.
But yeah, like weird instruments. I think
Read
I'm
Game of
super
Thrones.
into
There's a
that.
cool horn in Game of Thrones.
Oh, cool.
No spoilers.
All right, I will check it out.
Just it's cool.
But
that's,
yeah, I'm really excited to hear the music as well once we get to it.
I'm stoked. We're gonna have I know we're planning for a little bit of sound effects. Hopefully, just a smatter in there, just to get some processing down before we go to the new year. But after that, like you said, we'll see the sweet music coming in. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's what
man.
I'm looking forward to. Actually, is sound effects.
Sound effects in my head. I love
So
that.
many little things with the UI, just giving you a confirmation sound, or when you click on a unit or something like that. That's
yes, sir.
I'd rather have that than music. So.
Yeah.
Ready to work.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right.
Okay, sweet. Hey, I think we're gonna wrap this guy up.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, Teamstream 11, Massive Chalice. We're gonna keep working on this video game, and
One more
yeah.
team stream before the year's out, or two more?
you know, we'll have to look at the
Yeah,
calendar.
we'll
definitely be
Thanksgiving
back.
next week, but we will be.
And then the
back
week after
with
Thanksgiving,
that.
we'll be back. So we'll see you then. And if you got any questions, check out our Tumblr, our forums. Where else can people get a hold of us? Twitter,
Yeah. Twitter,
all sorts of places.
Facebook fan page.
But yeah, like just let us know if you got any questions, things you'd like to see us showcase on the Team Stream next time or in the future. And thanks for the support. Thanks for backing. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Also, a project you worked on for Amnesia Fortnite last year, kind of.
Oh yeah, we just
kind of
shipped
got a release
Autonomous on the
got a
Leap
release.
motion device. So check that thing out.
with new stuff in it. It looks awesome.
It's super cool. It's like an
awesome.
advanced version of that of the prototype with Leap support.
and it's free. So if you got a Leap, check it out.
Yeah.
Make some bots.
AutonomousGame.com. Right?
Autonomousgame.com. Check it out.
Awesome. Thanks
All
everyone.
right. See you next time. Thanks.